Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddhang saranang gacchami dhammang saranang gacchami sanghang saranang gacchami. Yesterday we discussed about the early disciples of the Buddha. They were not just early disciples, we took up the preeminent disciples of the Buddha. Lord Buddha has specially designated with a title to these great liberated monks and nuns, and also titles to laymen and laywomen. So we could take up some of them and we could see the wide range of possibility of the mind to develop in certain aspect, in some kind of specialization. Each one of them was specialized in certain attainment. So many possibilities, which shows that the minds of the human beings or beings are so different. And Lord Buddha was able to guide different kinds of living beings with a very specific way of instruction so that they could reach the highest goal. This is the power of Lord Buddha, which is one of the special characteristics of a fully enlightened Samma Sambuddha, that Lord Buddha would teach according to the need and according to the suitability, desana kosala, the skill in teaching. Anyway, we have seen some lives of some disciples, and we went through the list of these great people, because even remembering their name, uttering their name, is also great blessings for us, because the attainment they had is just marvelous. So we have seen from the time of the Buddha, this Dhamma is flowing. In the time of the Buddha, large parts of, especially northern India, many people became followers of the Buddha. Even from South India, in the text we have the record of people coming as south as Andhra Pradesh, which is in the south of India. So they also came to Lord Buddha and they became monks, and they learned and they went back. So later, after the passing away of the Buddha, one very important task came upon the elderly disciples, that is of clearly announcing what exactly is the teachings of the Buddha. Because the possibility of misinterpreting or mixing up or any other kind of dilution with the teaching was possible. So 500 very, not just enlightened, but very powerful arahants who had a very special knowledge called Patisamvida Jnana, through which they could remember all the teachings of the Buddha in letter and in meaning. They got together in Rajagaha and they recited section by section. These sections were also properly organized in that council. And they authenticated that this is the teaching of the Buddha. And since then, it continued, and after 100 years, there was another necessity to hold the second council because of some differences of opinions regarding some Vinaya disciplines, the disciplines of the monastics. So this second one was held in Vaisali, and this was held after 100 years of passing away of Lord Buddha. So once again they recited, once again they consolidated, and they said, this is the teachings of the Buddha. Again, by enlightened disciples. And one of the chief monks was ordained by the Buddha himself, and he was over 120, 130 years, who presided over that council, Venerable Yasa. And then, as the time passed by, there came a great emperor in India by name Ashoka. A very great emperor who was a normal, power-mongering prince who, they say that he destroyed many of his brothers to catch the power, and he was so power-hungry that he went on capturing state after state, state after state. And when he waged war to take over Kalinga, now modern eastern part of India, in Orissa and Bengal, that part, it was a very, very heavy war, and it is said 150,000 people died in that war. 150,000 people. And he was victorious. And as a victorious emperor, he was celebrating it. And then he said, well, let us go and see what all the things we have won. So he goes into the city and he sees only a lot of dead bodies, injured people, and a lot of human cry. People were crying and crying over losing their near and dear ones. So many people killed, naturally. And as he was going, something happened in mind. What am I doing? He was confused. Did I now really won? Or what happened? Such great suffering is going on. And when he was, one account says that when he was in his camp, in the middle of the night, he could not even sleep. As he could not sleep, he was walking. He started walking in the dark. And there, a monk, young monk, meets him. And he calls him by his name, not as Maharaja or great king or emperor. He calls him just, hey Devana Priya, come, you are disturbed person. You will find peace here. And he was in a way shocked, he was in a way angry. Who is that who can call me by name? Anyway, he goes there, but looking at this peaceful figure of this monk, his mind melts. And he listens to Dhamma. And that monk, Venerable Nigroda, he takes this emperor to his teacher, Venerable Tissa, Mogali Buddha Tissa. And there he is totally transformed. And he became what is called Dharma Ashoka. Ashoka became Dharma Ashoka. Because then onwards, he fully involved himself into the learning and practicing and propagating the Buddha's teachings. So much so that during his time, it was flourishing throughout India. He made to flourish. And he conducted the third council. Because he patronized, there were so many monks who were really not monks, but they put on the robes just because they could get a place to stay and good food and all the respects and all these things. So then and in this council, the senior monks, they made, first of all, they recited the Tripitaka, all the teachings of the Buddha, and the second important step they took was to interview each monk and ask them, who is your teacher, what you have learned, what are the things you know, like that they tested, and they could find out 60,000 monks who were not monks. 60,000 of them were disrobed, and they were made lay people, and they were given job and lands and such things so that they can live a decent life. So that was important step taken during that time. And then another important step was to send Dhammadutas, ambassadors of Dhamma. So 9 missions were sent during the time of Ashoka, each one under eminent Arahant monk. One was sent as far as Yonaka. Yonaka means near to Greece, in the west. And then one was sent to Gandhara, another mission which went on and spread Dhamma in Afghanistan and Pakistan up to Persia, that area. Then one mission was sent to China, Himavanta, that is China and this Himalayan region. So they went towards Tibet and China, that side. And one group was sent to Kashmir, that is present Kashmir and the northern part of India and parts of Pakistan. And then one group was sent to Suvarnabhumi, that is Burma, Thailand, and that side, even the Southeast Asia. Another mission came to Aprantaka, that is Western India, western part of India. And then 3 were sent towards south. One to Vanavasi, that is in Karnataka state, the present where I live, that state, north of Karnataka, and one to Mahisamandala, very near to our place, Mysore region. And one group went to Sri Lanka under Arhant Mahinda and Venerable Arhant Sanghamita. So like this 9 they were sent, and these ambassadors of Dharma took these words of the Buddha and spread. And then he made to carve on the stones the teachings of the Buddha and erected in towns and cities on the crossroads. And they are now called rock edicts of Ashoka. And most of them are found in our state, in South India. Most of them. Though similar ones are found in other parts, but most of them are found in South India. That means it shows how far it has spread by then. It was 250 years after Lord Buddha. And then it got spread in Sri Lanka. And the fourth council was held 80 years before Christ in Sri Lanka. And that was the first time the Tripitaka was put into writing in Sri Lanka, which has become the basis of the Pali Tripitaka till now. And that's how it continued, and India saw the rise of Buddhism to its height, and it went on up to 6th, 7th, 8th century, and then this Mahayana developed in India. That started flourishing, and like that it went on up to 11th, 12th century, till the Mughals came and destroyed. That was one of the reasons, but other reasons were it started becoming divided into different schools and different practices. So the influence of some Hindu reformers and some Hindu propagators, that also became one of the conditions for weakening of Buddhism in India. But the ultimate blow was when the Mughals attacked and crushed. At that time, it was said Nalanda had 10,000 students, mainly monastic students, which shows that it was still flourishing till 12th century. Anyway, after that, it was quite a big dive. And from the main part of India, it disappeared in a way. Though there were here and there some very few centers left, but most of the place it got vanished. But in the Himalayan region, it remained. And in the northeast of India, it remained. So it did not extinct completely. It was there. Coming now to modern times, in the year 1870, the 5th Council Sanghayana was held in Burma, in Mandalay. And in this council, they wrote this Tripitaka on marble stones. So, after a long time, this council was held and it was written on the marble stones. That was the 6th. And during this time, one very important event took place. That was the visit of Venerable Anagarika Dharmapala to India. He visited to pay respects to these holy places, and when he saw these Buddhist holy places in a very dilapidated conditions, neglected conditions, and some even converted conditions, they were converted into some temples, he was so moved that he determined that he want to revive it. So in 1891, he started what is called Mahabodhi Society with the determination under the holy Mahabodhi tree, the tree under which Buddha was enlightened. That tree is called Mahabodhi. Since he started it there, he called it Mahabodhi Society. And he started discussing with the British Raj, with the government, and among Britishers during that time a great interest also came, and they started excavating the places connected with the Buddha, and Lord Cunningham should be remembered. He rendered great contributions in unearthing the Buddhist holy places. So in a way that was very helpful to Anagarika Dharmapala's struggle. He had to face a lot of challenges, no doubt, but still he could convince step by step, and one after the other, these holy places were in a way restored, partly, and some kind of cleanliness, some kind of maintenance, and when some pilgrims started visiting, they could at least see and worship those holy sites. So this was a very, very important step. And the second step that he took was introducing the monks, mainly from Sri Lanka, though he contacted other monks, Burmese monks, Thai monks, even Japanese and other nationals, but mainly from Sri Lanka, he invited and brought monks and introduced. So that also started creating a new atmosphere. Otherwise, it was not possible to see a living monk. So at least to see that somebody in robes was also a very, very big step, important step for the Indian people. And he wrote immensely. He was partly struggling for, participated in nationalist movement of Sri Lanka against British and with British in India. He did so many things. So in a way he was a very strong activist. And to do that he became Anagarika. Anagarika means one who is homeless or a renunciate, but not fully ordained monk. So it is in between householders and monastics. So he was not householder, he was not fully monastic, so he could do this kind of activities. And he came to the United States and he spoke in the Parliament of World Religions, which was held in Chicago in 1893. And there he gave a talk, The World's Debt to the Buddha. Very, very well received. So in a way, it also started bringing awareness in the West. And that helped back in India when he started his movement. And then some Burmese monks also started coming to India. And one of the earliest monks we can remember is Venerable Chandamani, and before that there was another monk. He is called he was addressed as Baba because Hindu monks and renunciates, they are called Babas. So when that Burmese monk came, he was some Baba. Actually, he was one of the royal family princes there. He came and he was one of the very earliest monks. And that is how in Kushinagar he started his temple and this holy place. So Anagarika Dharmapala restored Buddha Gaya, and he started center in Sarnath, and then in Savatthi, Kushinagar, in Calcutta, and all these places. And there were some eminent monks during that time, not many, but who played very important role, like Venerable Rahul Sankrityayan, a very great scholar of Sanskrit and Pali and Russian and English and so many languages. So he translated some of the Tripitaka texts into Hindi. So that is how the Indians were exposed to the Buddha's teachings. Europeans, especially the English, British people, they were doing quite good research and writing. And Germans were there who did very good research and writing. German monks like Venerable Jnana Tiloka and Venerable Jnana Ponika, who became monks in Sri Lanka, they were arrested by the British because of this conflict with Germany, and they were sent to India as a kind of prisoners. But that also helped in a way, that some kind of awareness also came with some intellectuals in India because of them about Buddhism. So this Venerable Rahul Sankrityayana came up, and there was another important monk called Jagdish Kasha. He was also a great scholar and Hindi speaking. So he started writing books in Hindi. So that was another important monk. By then, my teacher, who was my teacher was born in Calcutta, but he was born in Manipur. He hailed from Calcutta, but his parents were in Manipur in the northeast of India, near to Burma. He was born and brought up there, and then he studied engineering, and he joined army, and that time it was British Indian Army. So, and before, in a way he joined army, but in a way, before joining army as a student, he participated in Gandhi's movement, freedom struggle. And in that freedom struggle, he was also sent to jail. And he was a kind of student leader. And later on, when he finished his engineering, then he joined army. That fascinated him. And then this world war broke out, Second World War, and he was sent to Malaysia because a very fierce fighting was going on between British and Japanese forces. Japanese people came, almost they came up to Burma, and in Malaysia it was quite a big fight, and my teacher was there. And after the war, after bombing, the war came to an end and the Japanese surrendered, and so that process also he participated. But he saw